Hey guys, Scott here for another Headcanon video this week. This one is kind of a bit odd. It's actually really perfect for these Headcanon videos. I've wanted to do it for a really long time. I haven't been able to come up with anything that's like solid, and that's what these videos are for. They're just brainstorming with you and me. So with that said, let's talk about archery inside of comic books. Now this topic is a little bit dated probably, so just imagine that I'm making this video in 2012 when Avengers was coming out with Hawkeye and Arrow was debuting. I think that was 2012. I actually don't remember. But yeah, so just imagine this was a few years ago. I'm actually really curious about why archery became a big thing in the culture, and obviously stuff like Hunger Games and Hobbit, Brave, all that stuff really helped as well, especially Hunger Games. I think people mostly credit Hunger Games for getting archery back into the spotlight, but my question is, what in culture happened that we were ready for it, that we were ready for archery to make a comeback? And so I want to talk about that kind of in the light of comic books a little bit, because I think archery, and here's my weird thesis at the end of this, I think archery is kind of magical in the sense that it is a little bit of old school plus a little bit of new school thrown in there, and it's a really cool balance between low tech and high tech, and maybe that makes it interesting? So I think the first thing, obviously, is that archery has kind of status tied to it a little bit, right? So it's not just a weapon, it's also a status symbol that shows off that, oh yeah, this person's very skilled. That's, of course, if they can actually use the bow and arrow correctly, which in all of these cases, right, obviously Green Arrow, Hawkeye, they're very skilled archers, so yeah, that goes along with it. But I think it's this kind of dynamic between the low tech and the high tech that really makes it something special, right? So archery has been around for what, millennia? It's been like probably 10,000 years or something like that. I actually don't know. Once again, don't do research for these videos. I assume it's probably been around forever. Probably before humans, but don't quote me on that one. And the fundamentals of archery are still basically the same from when archery was first invented, although the gear has changed significantly. And when you look at things, when you look at people like Hawkeye, who has all these different, arrows, same with, Green Arrow obviously has all these different arrow heads that they put onto it and different types of arrows, and and bows even that have all these cool bits of technology thrown in there. It's kind of an interesting mix between a very ancient form of fighting and a very modern form of fighting. Hawkeye and Green Arrow have these like exploding arrows and grappling arrows and arrows that like tie people up in nets and shoot lasers and melt through things, and Hawkeye even had one in Avengers that was specifically for like shooting into a computer, and it plugs into a computer. And so those are obviously things that did not exist at the very beginning of archery. I'm sure exploding arrows were probably not far behind, but I think that at the end of the day, you're still shooting a stick with some string. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And I think maybe when you compare it to something like guns might represent something like rapid fire, don't really need to take a whole lot of time to aim. Like action movies are mostly misses, right? They're mostly just people shooting and missing. Whereas you look at something like the Arrow TV show, and almost, not 100% obviously, but a lot of the arrows that he shoots always hit their target. And so it kind of represents, I think, if I'm overanalyzing here a little bit, which is what I like to do, I think that maybe guns might represent kind of the world we live in now, where everything is just rapid fire at you all the time. You have so many different options. Like the internet is always in your face, telling you to do this and that and this and that, and you can do anything you want. You never have to slow down, and it's just next thing after next thing, just all this information flying at you. And some of it sticks, some of it doesn't really matter. But when you get back down to archery, and it's more of a focused, disciplined craft where you have to make sure that every shot you take counts, I think maybe that's something, and maybe, I don't know what it is, right? This is why it's a brainstorming session. I think maybe it's this idea of going back to basics, of going backwards, while also still kind of looking forward a little bit with the technology that they add on to these, bows and arrows and all that stuff to make it a little bit cooler, a little bit more futuristic, a little bit more modern. You can look at something, and this happens in movies and TV show a lot, I'm sure, but I don't really have any other examples than this one. If you look at Rocky, I think it's Rocky 4 when he's fighting the Russian guy. Rocky at this point is super rich, but when you do the training montages that show the difference between how the Russian guy is training and how Rocky is training, you see that the Russian guy is doing all of these like high-tech machinery and really interesting, visually interesting, workout things. And then you look at Rocky and he's just like chopping wood or whatever he's doing. It's something that's super basic. And that's not because he can't afford to have all that high-tech machinery. He's super rich at this point. I believe he has a robot or something. And so he has that ability to do the exact same things as this Russian guy. But again, it's this idea of going back to basics. And of course, he wins in the day and saves the world, if I'm remembering Rocky 4 correctly. So those are just some thoughts about archery and comic book characters that I've been thinking about. They don't really have a clear point or direction other than I think archery is kind of cool, and I think a lot of people think that it's cool, and I'm trying to figure out why. Because to me, it's not enough to say like, oh, because it's cool. I want to know like, why is it cool? And so if you guys have any theories, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. And also just list off who your favorite archer character is in comics. And also really quickly, if you are still here, which I hope you are, I hope you watch all of these videos until the end, I would like to say that we are doing kind of a soft launch of NerdSync t-shirts. If you are interested, I'll put a link in the description below. Right now, there's not a whole lot of designs available, but the site that we're selling them on is having a site-wide sale. It's called TeePublic, and how it works is basically we get to put up lots of different designs that we didn't create, and we can put it on our merch store, and if you guys buy them, then the original artists get some of the money, and then of course we get a little bit of commission as well, not as much as the original artist. But yeah, if you're interested in some NerdSync t-shirts, we've got a couple of them over there to choose from, if that's something you're interested in. And then, of course, explore all the other designs that are over there as well, because there's some really cool comic book ones that I put up as well. Again, that's TeePublic, link in the description below if you want to check it out and help support NerdSync, and also wear a NerdSync t-shirt. And actually, if you take a picture, if you buy one, I would love it if you took a picture of it and then send it to me via Twitter or tagged me on Instagram or something. That would be really interesting.